Welcome to our channel. On September 9, 2002, Buzz Aldrin, the second person to walk on the moon, punched a man named Bart Sibrel in response to his long-standing skepticism about whether humans had actually landed on the moon. Sibrel questioned Aldrin while holding a Bible.
Why don't you swear on the Bible that you walked on the moon?
Following the incident, when Aldrin entered a hotel, Sibrel followed closely behind.
If I ever thought of saying I misrepresented myself,
away from me.
You're a coward and a liar and a thief.
It is worth noting that in 2002, the movie Toy Story was also very popular. Buzz. This is the prototype of Buzz Lightyear. However, why wouldn't this American hero swear on the Bible? Could it be that the moon landing controversy is not unfounded? Are the conspiracy theories about the radiation belts that cannot be crossed, the mysterious deaths of investigators, the implausible shadows, the sky without stars, the lettered rocks, inconsistent backgrounds, errors in crosshairs, and unreasonable launch speeds true or false? Today, let's discuss this story. In 1958, scientist James Van Allen made an unexpected discovery. He found two large radiation belts surrounding the Earth, known as the Van Allen radiation belts. These belts are filled with various high-energy particles. When Van Allen first observed the presence of intense radiation with energies of 10 million electron volts in space, the entire NASA went into a state of great concern for several weeks. They initially thought that they had accidentally detected a Soviet space nuclear test. At that time, the competition between the United States and the Soviet Union had expanded into the realm of space. The Soviets had already achieved milestones such as launching satellites, sending dogs, and sending humans into space, while the United States had faced 3 consecutive setbacks. Therefore, the question arose: did these high-energy particles indicate that the Soviets had started sending nuclear weapons into space? The United States was extremely anxious about the situation. Coincidentally, during this time, American intelligence brought back another piece of erroneous information that the Soviet Union was planning to send humans to the moon. As a result, the U.S. president delivered a speech, vowing to counterattack decisively and using a manned lunar mission as a knockout blow against the Soviet Union.
Not because they are easy, but because they are hard.
This marked the origin of the Apollo program. Although later Van Allen confirmed that the high-energy particles in space were not from Soviet nuclear tests but rather radiation belts formed by Earth's magnetic field capturing solar wind, this posed an even bigger problem. When converted, the intensity of this radiation belt ranged from 10 to 1 million millisieverts. American scientists understood the implications of this dose range. Not only would it be harmful to the human body, but even the instruments and equipment on spacecraft would be instantly destroyed. So, the question of how to pass through the Van Allen belts became a topic of urban legends. Some claim that in order to pass through with humans on board, the spacecraft would need to be shielded with 30 centimeters of lead, which, given the weight, would be impossible with the technology available at that time, even now, or within the next 500 years. Looking at the Saturn V rocket, we can see that only the tiny part at the front is the lunar module, weighing 14.7 tons. It required such a massive rocket to send it to the moon. The lunar module is now on display in museums, and enthusiasts have even used radar detection to examine it. Its outer shell is made of 3 layers of stainless steel, fiberglass, and aluminum sheet with a total thickness of only 8 centimeters. Can this kind of shielding truly pass through the Van Allen radiation belts? Therefore, in this hypothesis, enthusiasts speculate that the live broadcast of the moon landing in 1969 may not have shown the spacecraft actually leaving the Van Allen radiation belts. Instead, it is believed that the 3 astronauts were launched into low Earth orbit, and then the pre-recorded moon landing footage was switched in. Finally, they broadcast the image of the astronauts returning to Earth's surface from the low Earth orbit. According to this hypothesis, the moon landing footage would inevitably contain numerous traces of film studio. Enthusiasts have summarized the specific details as follows. This refers to a segment of footage from the moon landing where the astronauts filmed the Earth from the spacecraft's window. However, some people have pointed out that this was likely a canvas backdrop constructed in a studio. They argue that if it were actually filmed through the window, it would require the astronauts to press their camera lens directly against the window while operating it. But if you look closely, the appearance of this shadow in the footage resembles someone suddenly walking through the shooting space between the Earth and the camera, and then quickly jumping away, perhaps realizing they had been caught. Furthermore, in the peculiar footage, the Earth appears to stretch and the focal length seems to shrink. And if we look at the top right corner, doesn't it resemble a studio's fill light? What could that be? There's another bizarre element in the footage: the black line. If the camera was indeed positioned against the window, where did this black line come from? Moreover, enthusiasts present what they consider to be the most damning evidence. If we assume that the astronauts did not actually leave the Van Allen radiation belts and were only in low Earth orbit, we can infer from numerous photos taken outside the windows of the Russian International Space Station that the view outside the windows in low Earth orbit should be bright, with strong reflections from Earth. And indeed, in this footage, there is an inadvertent moment that exposes everything. When the astronaut opens the camera towards the window glass to capture the interior of the spacecraft, there is a brief flash, revealing a bright window. The time has come for this episode, and we will continue the discussion on the moon landing conspiracy in the next episode.